Well, the bottom line here, sadly, and it's hard to hear, is the victim in this case wanted to bring her boyfriend home, and 6 days later, that man took her life as well as the life of her sister. It's all happening in this third-floor apartment here. People in this neighborhood still saddened, upset by what happened. Others saying it didn't need to happen.
On March 7th, 2016, Cheverly, Maryland was thrown into chaos after police officers discovered the bodies of a woman and her sister at around 10:30 p.m., lying helplessly at the Cheverly Station apartment complex. The officers, who were alerted to the sound of gunshots, were able to identify the bodies of 26-year-old Tarika Jones as well as 22-year-old Jalissa Walls Harris. While this was shocking enough, the officers would discover something even more troubling. A few days ago, the killer was in jail for another domestic case. One of the deceased women paid $20,000 to bail him out. Just a few days later, the police were called to the same residence where they made a gruesome discovery.
Less than a week before Kevin Reynolds murdered the mother of his child, Tarika Jones, and her sister, Jalissa Harris, he was bailed out of jail by Jones herself.
She did pay to have him removed from jail.
Judge Joseph Wright set the bond at $20,000. Prosecutors didn't object, and Reynolds was released.
This is the heartbreaking story of Tarika Jones. Before we begin, we would love to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Tarika Jones, as well as everyone affected by the tragic event. For you to better understand the people in this story, let me share with you their backgrounds from Cheverly, Maryland. Being a suburb of Washington, D.C., Cheverly, Maryland has a higher than average crime rate. With violent crimes less common than property crimes, the town is less safe than most cities in Maryland. It is little wonder why the violence that took the life of Tarika Jones was reported from this very city. Tarika Lene Jones, born on May 21, 1989, in Prince George's County, Maryland, to Tawanda Jones Reed and the late Terry Lee Walls, lived a life that represented her ambition and resilience. She spent her childhood in Maryland, attending Calvert County Public Schools before graduating from Huntington High School in 2007. With a passion for education management, Tarika embarked on a journey of self-improvement, enrolling at Fortis College in Hyattsville, Maryland, to become a dental assistant. But her pursuit of a brighter future was about more than just personal ambition. There was a deeper purpose driving her every step. Tarika had 3 daughters at the center of her world. She wanted to make the best out of her life for her and her 3 girls. She made sure to take good care of them and did not fail to showcase them to the world via social media. However, there was one person she refused to showcase. It was the father of her youngest daughter. His name was Kevin Tyrese Reynolds from District Heights, Maryland. Kevin was involved in a romantic relationship with Tarika. As usual, their relationship was one filled with love and trust. The pair had been engaged in romantic dealings for a while, and everything went smoothly for some time. And then, the unusual began to happen. Kevin became a beast of nature. The pair became involved in constant fights that would sometimes draw the attention of neighbors, who most times did their best to stay out of a family issue. While the fights went on for a while, it is almost possible to miss one very unhealthy factor about these fights. It was the fact that they all happened in front of 3 growing female children. Most of them weren't mentally prepared to witness such confrontations. However, it may seem as though the situation was that of a handicapped situation with no one able to speak about it or do anything whatsoever about it. And usually, women in this type of position could only hope that things got better. However, in this particular case, it never did, because what was about to happen marked the beginning of the end for Tarika. In February, Kevin was dropping off their daughter when a heated exchange took place. Remember, Kevin and Tarika shared a daughter, and they put an arrangement in place, one which saw Kevin pick her up and drop her off on certain occasions. However, this occasion was a particularly different one, as it saw their daughter witness a side of her father she probably never knew existed. It was 6 p.m., and Kevin arrived in his usual fashion, where he'd park and Tarika would go pick her up from the front seat. But on this occasion, What Tarika didn't know was that Kevin had other plans. While she tried to pick up her baby, Kevin, who was calculating his move, rushed her, grabbed her, and threw her to the ground. As if this were not enough, he made an intentional charge towards her, where he continued his aggression by picking her up, tossing her about almost as if he was determined to end her that very minute. However, after much back and forth, Tarika was finally able to get back on her feet, and like a prey who managed to break free from the claws of a hungry predator, she scampered to safety, to the shelter of her neighbors. But while she must have felt the situation had died down, it was only just beginning. Just as she tried to call the police due to the fact that she still felt threatened, Kevin found a way to get at her and threw her phone away. Tarika, confused as the situation seemed helpless to her, still managed to get some other phone, and with Kevin not nearby but not so far off this time, tried to reach the police through 911. This time, the call went through. But just as the dispatcher was trying to get the location from which Tarika was calling from so they could send immediate help, Kevin could be heard visibly in the background screaming and yelling. The dispatcher needed no further information to know that this was indeed a grave danger situation that needed immediate intervention. Eventually, officers were sent to the location. It was when they got to the scene that Tarika admitted even more shocking information to them. According to her, Kevin thought she was on the phone with her other baby daddy, and in a moment of instant rage, ran back to his truck to pick up a handgun. Tarika, scared to death on the other hand, rushed to call the police. But then and there, something utterly unbelievable happened. Kevin's mother intercepted her almost as though she felt her pain and wanted to help her, but then seized her phone, ordering her not to call the police on her son. After the exclusive information, Kevin was arrested and charged with first-degree assault. While this should have brought smiles and relief to Tarika, this wasn't the case. In fact, quite odd and shockingly, the reverse was the case. You see, notwithstanding the fact that Tarika was at risk with Kevin not behind bars, she was a woman with a heavy load to carry. The burden of 3 demanding girls was no joke, and there was no denying that Kevin was useful in that aspect. A thought of this echoed through Tarika's head, and finally, Tarika went on to make the most costly decision of her life. She made a move at the county court expressing to them that she was no longer in fear for her life and that she wanted Kevin released. Initially, Kevin had no bond set for him, but the defendant requested a $5,000 bond with a 10% option. However, the situation had gotten more complicated than they had initially imagined. Judge Joseph Wright went through Kevin's violent record, reading them to everyone in the courtroom. Some of the crimes included destruction, first-degree assault, and a weapon conviction. Therefore, he was not convinced that $5,000 was fair, although everyone pushed for that. It was Tarika's case. Quite right, but it had gotten bigger than just her. Kevin was now considered a threat to society, and a release of such magnitude would require a higher bond value to match it. What you're about to hear is Kevin's bond hearing I managed to source for you.
Mr. Reynolds is currently being held in no bond. We're asking that you set a bond, Your Honor, to a $5,000 bond with a 10% option and pretrial release.
I have had occasion to speak to Ms. Jones. She indicates that she is not in fear of him and that she, in fact, wants him home.
The facts read as a fairly violent episode. And then if I look at his record, destruction, conviction for assault, which is what this case is actually charged as, first-degree assault, another conviction for assault, a weapons conviction as well. He believes he got off on probation 2 days ago.
Ms. Jones disputes some of the allegations in the statement of charges, Your Honor. I believe that a $5,000 bond is appropriate in this matter.
I disagree. For all the reasons I said, for public safety, for the record, for the way the facts read, I'll set a bond. It'll be $20,000.
As you have heard, the judge set Kevin's bond at $20,000, and with Kevin financially incapacitated in jail, the bond would be paid by someone that raised eyebrows. From the sole help of Tarika, the bond was raised and Kevin was finally free. This move would have devastating consequences, but would mean nothing if we do not at this time introduce a key figure in this story, Jalissa Walls Harris. Jalissa was Tarika's stepsister. She was born on October 25, 1993, and grew up in Maryland as well. Jalissa was known for her vibrant personality and her close relationship with her family, particularly her stepsister Tarika. She was a supportive and caring individual who found herself entangled in the complexities of Tarika's life, including her troubled relationship with Kevin. Now, with that being established, Kevin bailed from jail returns to Tarika's life. The shocking part of this is that things never even got better again before they got worse this time. In fact, over the next few days, tensions between Tarika and Kevin continued to rise. The relationship was marked by domestic violence, and Tarika's family and friends were concerned about her safety. Despite these concerns, Tarika remained in the relationship because Kevin paid some of the bills. And now, things were about to get even worse for Tarika, and this time, permanently. Just 6 days after his release from jail, which happened to fall on the evening of March 7th, 2016, Kevin went to Tarika's apartment in the Cheverly Station complex in Cheverly, Maryland. An argument ensued between them, likely fueled by the ongoing tensions and unresolved issues in their relationship. Neighbors reported hearing loud arguing, followed by 3 gunshots. The argument between Tarika and Kevin escalated into violence, and with Tarika's stepsister Jalissa present, and with everyone aware of Kevin's violent nature, it is safe to say that she must have tried to interfere. Maybe not violently, but if she interfered at all, this had dire consequences. In a tragic turn of events, Kevin pulled out a gun and shot both Tarika and Jalissa, who tried to control the situation. Both women fell under the kitchen table. This wasn't the most troubling part of everything. The shooting was witnessed by one of Tarika's young children, a 5-year-old daughter, who was also Kevin's daughter and who was present in the apartment. Police were quickly called to the scene after reports of gunshots. Upon arrival, they found both Tarika and Jalissa dead from multiple gunshot wounds.
Tonight, State's Attorney Angela Alsobrooks reviewing exactly how that could have happened.
I wish we had kept him in jail.
As we first reported yesterday, Reynolds was locked up March 1st, accused of brutally beating Tarika Jones, pointing a gun at her, making threats. He would still be locked up on a no-bond status if Jones had not gone to Reynolds' bond review and recanted her story of the assault. Judge Joseph Wright set the bond at $20,000.
She did pay to have him removed from jail. And this is the worst case scenario.
The police launched an immediate investigation into the double homicide, with Kevin identified as the prime suspect. A manhunt began. Police searched for him in the area, alerting nearby jurisdictions to be on the lookout for him. However, they were in for the surprise of a lifetime. The next morning, on March 8, 2016, police found Kevin dead in Hanover County, Virginia. He had taken his own life with a self-inflicted wound using the same weapon, ending the manhunt and bringing a tragic conclusion to the events. The news of the double homicide and Kevin's subsequent death was one that the community did not respond to with pleasure.
Think about you, and if there's a child involved, you have to think about you and that child. That comes first before any type of other relationship.
Residents of the Cheverly Station apartments were deeply disturbed by the incident, especially since it occurred in a place they considered safe. Neighbors expressed sadness and disbelief, stating how much people didn't value life anymore.
She wanted to make something out of herself, 27 with 3 children or not. She still wanted to come out of poverty. She wanted to be the best mother that she could be. It's just sad because she doesn't get that chance.
Tarika was remembered as a kind and outgoing person who was studying to become a dental hygienist. Jalissa was described as a vibrant young woman with aspirations to become a vocalist. Family members and friends shared fond memories of both women, highlighting their positive impact on those around them. The community rallied around Tarika's children, who were left without a mother. Neighbors and friends expressed sympathy for the children who had witnessed the traumatic event. A GoFundMe page was set up to help cover funeral expenses for Jalissa Walls Harris. The incident brought attention to the issue of domestic violence in Prince George's County. It marked the 8th domestic violence-related homicide in the county for that year. State's Attorney Angela Alsobrooks emphasized the need for stronger laws to protect victims of domestic abuse. But who failed the deceased in this case? Was it the laws? This story is another one of those stories where the final outcome could have been prevented. While some may be quick to crucify Tarika for posting bond, we cannot underscore the trauma she must have been going through at that point in time, having to go through a series of abuse by the man she obviously loved the most, after which fighting for her life made her to call the police on him. As we pause to reflect, our attention shifts 370 miles away from Cheverly, Maryland, to Wilmington, North Carolina, where a truly bizarre event has just unfolded.
In the entire time I've been in this office, I have never seen a more extensive investigation to try and bring a child home than what I've been personally witnessing over these last 2 weeks.
On November 17, 2022, a body was found in a landfill in Pender County, North Carolina. Officers identified the body as 16-year-old Myona Jones, but her tragic death was only the beginning. The shocking cause and chilling circumstances surrounding it led the Attorney General's lead investigator to call it the most intense case he had ever encountered in his career. This is the heartbreaking story of Myona Jones. This case, happening in Wilmington, North Carolina, exposes us to a city that has seen some recent improvements in crime rates, particularly in violent crime. However, the city's overall crime levels remain above the national average, with property crime being a notable concern. Crime rates vary across neighborhoods, with some areas being safer than others. Myona Tanya Jones was born on November 11, 2005, to parents Maya Sellers and Maurice Jones. She was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, and attended New Hanover High School. She was described as a fun-loving person who everyone loved to be around. Being an extroverted person, she also loved being around people, which is little wonder why on November 2nd, 2022, when no one had seen or heard from her for a day, the whole town was thrown into chaos. Her mother had come out on social media to express grief over the fact that her daughter hadn't been seen since November 1st. However, her post went far beyond just the fact that her daughter was missing. She expressed concern over the poor treatment from police officers who made sure to delay her for 3 hours before the first officer showed up to her. However, this wasn't all. The officers, even after showing up, didn't take her report seriously even after being in contact with the last person who saw her. Usually, in cases like this, an Amber Alert or BOLO would have been activated. But this wasn't the case, and it was troubling for Maya, who had no idea what was coming next. Just as they were still on the Myona case, another 16-year-old student of Hanover High School named Araceli Rojas Jimenez was reported missing. It was at this point that the police department suspected a potential outbreak and decided to take the whole issue seriously. With the missing person issue growing bigger than the county, the Office of the District Attorney set up a task force to search the whole of Hanover County, and in 2 weeks' time, they had gotten their first big reveal. The task force, with tips here and there leading to intel, found out quite the most shocking revelation. The police had found 2 suspects related to Myona Jones's disappearance, and it wasn't who anyone would have expected. It was Myona's half-brother, Jarice Jones, in the company of his girlfriend, Randy Johnson. According to investigators, they found out that Jarice had been alone with Myona just before she went missing. In fact, he was the last person she had been with before the unfortunate event, and with that being established, the investigators had only one line of action left: to arrest and prosecute the pair. On November 7, 2022, Jarice made his first court appearance following his arrest on unrelated charges. He had been in custody ever since November 3rd, when he was detained for being alone with Myona, who had been reported missing days earlier. During the hearing, Assistant District Attorney Connie Jordan indicated that foul play was suspected in Myona's case and highlighted Jarice's history as a registered sex offender. due to previous sexual assault charges.
Jones was taken into custody on a parole violation, according to prosecutors. That's because he's a registered sex offender. He pleaded guilty back in 2015 to assaulting multiple women. We now know that the minor he was in a car with was his sister, Mayana Jones, who was last seen last Tuesday.
Jerice was held on a bond of $1.275 million for charges including first-degree kidnapping and rape. His girlfriend, who was also arrested for obstruction of justice related to Mayona's disappearance, appeared in court with a bond set at $100,000. The DA emphasized that Randy had interfered with the investigation, stating that based on everything they knew, they believed horrible things had happened to Mayona. The court set their next appearance for November 17th, but little did they know that on that same day, they were going to make a grim discovery that would change the direction of this case. On November 17th, 2022, the search for 16-year-old Mayona Jones turned into a tragic discovery. After 2 weeks of extensive searching, a body was found in Pender County, North Carolina. The Wilmington Police Department, along with various agencies including the FBI and local fire departments, had been searching diligently when they came across the body, and when forensics were called to examine it, it turned out to undoubtedly be that of Mayona Jones. Wilmington Police Chief Donnie Williams and District Attorney Ben David held a press conference to announce the discovery. They expressed deep sorrow for Mayona's family and emphasized the ongoing investigation.
It has been a very somber 2 weeks for the entire community and has unfortunately come to a tragic end. The body of 16-year-old Mayona Jones was discovered earlier in Pender County.
While the exact location of her body was not disclosed, it was noted that the search had initially concentrated on the new Hanover County landfill. During the press conference, Chief Williams remarked on the extensive nature of the investigation, stating he had never witnessed such a dedicated effort to finding a missing child. District Attorney David indicated that forensic evaluations would be necessary before additional charges could be filed against those involved, particularly her half-brother, Jerice Jones, who was already in custody.
This case, we do anticipate murder charges coming out, but we are going to be deliberate and make sure that we have the necessary forensic evaluations that need to take place.
Both officials urged the community to support Mayona's family during this difficult time and reiterated their commitment to pursuing justice for her death. The case remained active as investigators worked to uncover further details surrounding her tragic fate. District Attorney David confirmed what everyone wanted to hear. Jerice would face murder charges, expressing a commitment to ensure justice for Mayona. He indicated that further forensic evaluations were necessary before additional charges could be finalized. The authorities remained tight-lipped about specific details surrounding her death, stating that this information would be revealed during court proceedings. The day after Mayona's body was discovered, Jerice was charged with first-degree murder. He was already in custody on unrelated charges when authorities linked him to Mayona's disappearance. His bond was revoked, and he was held without bond as he awaited trial. Randy, who had previously been charged with obstruction of justice, faced similar scrutiny as investigators sought to understand her role in the events leading up to Mayona's death. This development indicated that multiple individuals were potentially involved in covering up or hindering the investigation into Mayona's disappearance. The discovery of Mayona's body sent a wave of terror through Wilmington and surrounding areas. Community members organized vigils to honor her memory and express solidarity with her grieving family. These gatherings served as a platform for individuals to share their sorrow and support for one another during this difficult time. Many attendees emphasized the importance of youth safety and called for increased awareness regarding issues affecting young people.
No reason why the killers are walking around here for murdering, and you people know about it. It will not assist the police department with tips or anything else.
Local organizations also stepped in to provide resources for those impacted by the tragedy. Support groups formed to help families dealing with similar losses, highlighting a collective effort to foster healing within the community. As investigators continued to gather evidence related to Mayona's death, they worked closely with various agencies, including the FBI and local law enforcement departments. The extensive nature of the investigation drew attention from both local and national media outlets, keeping the case in the public eye. District Attorney Ben David assured the community that every effort would be made to hold those responsible accountable. He noted that this case had seen an unprecedented level of collaboration among law enforcement agencies.
I want the community to know that our officers have worked tirelessly around the clock these past 2 weeks, searching for her. The Wilmington Police Department didn't do this alone. We've been assisted by several organizations. That includes the New Hanover County Sheriff's Office. I want to thank Sheriff Ed McMahon. New Hanover County Environmental Management and landfill staff. The Federal Bureau of Investigations. Brunswick Search and Rescue. The Wilmington Fire Department. The Pender County Sheriff's Office and the Q Center.
Emphasizing their commitment to thoroughness in pursuing justice for Maiona in subsequent court proceedings. It was revealed that Jarvis could face the death penalty. During a pre-trial conference on February 16, 2023, the prosecution proposed that Jarvis's case be tried as a first-degree capital murder case. Superior Court Judge Frank Jones ruled in favor of this proposal, indicating the seriousness of the charges against him. District Attorney Ben David stated that every murder is considered heinous, but some cases warrant capital punishment due to their particularly egregious nature. David emphasized that the decision to pursue the death penalty was not taken lightly. He mentioned that they had convened a capital review committee to determine whether aggravating circumstances were present in Maiona's case. As not every first-degree murder qualifies for the death penalty, the committee concluded that there were sufficient grounds to seek capital punishment, and this determination was supported by the judge. In addition to the murder charge, Jarvis faced charges of first-degree kidnapping, first-degree rape, and incest. His girlfriend, Randy, and his grandmother, Judy Knight, were also charged with obstruction of justice in connection with the case. The legal proceedings drew significant media attention and community interest as details surrounding Maiona's tragic fate continued to emerge. As the case progressed through the court system, public sentiment remained focused on seeking justice for Maiona. Many community members attended hearings to support her family and advocate for accountability for those involved in her death. The possibility of the death penalty added a layer of gravity to the proceedings, reflecting the community's desire for justice in this heart-breaking case. Jarvis faced mounting pressure as details surrounding his alleged involvement began to surface. Prosecutors presented evidence linking him to Maiona's disappearance and death, while defense attorneys sought to challenge these claims. The courtroom became a focal point for public interest as community members attended hearings to show their support for Maiona's family. As legal proceedings progressed, more information emerged regarding Jarvis's past criminal history as a registered sex offender. This background raised further concerns about his ability to interact safely with minors and fueled discussions about systemic issues related to youth protection. The story of Maiona continues to resonate within her community as legal proceedings unfold against those charged in connection with her death. The collective grief experienced by friends and family serves as a reminder of the need for vigilance in protecting vulnerable individuals. As investigators work diligently to piece together the circumstances surrounding her untimely demise, many hope that justice will prevail for Maiona and that her legacy will inspire positive change within society. This tragic case of Maiona teaches us important lessons about community safety, the necessity of vigilance regarding youth protection, and the critical role of collaboration in law enforcement efforts. It highlights the emotional toll on those involved in such cases and underscores the need for mental health support. Additionally, it raises awareness about the complexities of the legal system and the importance of advocating for stronger protections for vulnerable individuals. Which leaves us with this question: what proactive steps can we take as individuals and communities to ensure the safety and well-being of our youth? And how can we better support families in crisis? And even though why he did it wasn't clear, we'd love to know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Here are some of the other shocking stories we've covered on this channel, and they're even more disturbing than what you just watched. I hope you learned something from them. If you like the way we present these stories, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. See you in the next one.